The digital verification core is a collaboration between our student group at Cambridge, the human rights organization Amnesty International, as well as student groups at a number of universities around the world. So it all started when Amnesty saw two big challenges looming on the horizon as human rights fact-finding entered the digital age. First, Amnesty saw there were not enough fact-finders who are knowledgeable about the particularities of using digital evidence. And second, now that witnesses of human rights violations are documenting them visually with their phones and transmitting them digitally via platforms like Twitter and WhatsApp, the human rights organizations were facing a data deluge. And so the DVC was born. So student members in the DVC are trained by Amnesty, and then they work together to discover and verify digital evidence of human rights violations, guided by human rights investigators. The DVC uses technology in a variety of ways. Thinking about digital open source investigation, I think the first question is, what is that? It's the practice of finding and analyzing information that's freely available in online spaces as part of a research process, and it's becoming increasingly relevant in human rights investigations. The work of open source investigation itself uses a range of technologies. The students in our group use TweetDeck, for example, to search for relevant tweets. They use Google Earth Pro in another example, which helps them geolocate images that they've encountered on Twitter through matching landmarks in the evidence, so in the photo or video on Twitter, with what can be seen in the satellite image. That allows them to confirm that this image really is where the person who took it says it is from.
I think the major barrier to using open source investigation tools and technology is understanding the technology, understanding how to use this technology, having that expertise. And the DVC did a really good job of training students across a wide range of disciplines to help them access this technology, to help them contribute to human rights investigations. And I think that students often feel as though they don't have the adequate expertise to contribute to a human rights investigation, and the DVC just proves that once you reduce those barriers, whether those are technological barriers, like in this case, or understanding of this technology, then you can really include a wide diversity of students into this project.
One of my favourite things about the DVC was that you didn't need to be a computer science PhD student in order to get involved and in order to learn and apply skills that had a technological basis towards a positive goal. And I think that this was a really inclusive approach that transcended every level of the DVC's work, not only at the beginning and at the level of the trainings, but throughout the year. The way that we worked together was really collaborative, and everyone was able to bring something to the table.
It's a great opportunity, especially as a student, to get involved in a community where you're immediately impacting and contributing to human rights work. It feels quite rare in the field to, as an undergraduate, turn up with a bunch of people in a room and start making a difference straight away using tools that you can use for the rest of your life. It feels really valuable to sort of unlock an aspect of the internet and its usefulness in that way.
Through our partnership with Amnesty International, we've been able to shed light on war crimes in Syria. We've been able to shed light on extrajudicial violence in Cameroon. And we've been able to work across a number of other more emergent threats, including the use of tear gas against protesters in France and the United States during the Black Lives Matter movement. It has tremendous value, not only for activism, but also for academia insofar as new and open methodologies are concerned.
So this past summer, the fantastic team that I lead at the Whistle Project built two tools that will support the DVC and other human rights investigators. The first is the Human Rights Digital Toolkit, which is a decision tree that helps investigators figure out which digital tools might be useful for evaluating the digital evidence they have. And the second is something called the Social Life of Data, which is an interactive game in which the player becomes the piece of human rights data and learns how the meaning of that data changes as its context changes, as it moves, for example, from a Reddit comment to a Twitter post, to a news article, to a human rights report. So these are both really helpful tools, not just for the DVC, but for the wider community in terms of both training people in open source investigation techniques and in getting them to question the underlying assumptions of these techniques and how we decide on facts ourselves. basically, we're delighted to have won the prize. The students have done a tremendous amount of work, and it is really all down to them, everything that the DVC has achieved. And the aim is to use the reward of the prize to further the reach of the DVC and to build a network of people working together with digital tools and data for a more just world.